Hola, me llamo Edwin.
Yo soy Jeffrey.
Hola, mi nombre es Franek, and welcome to Tilted Not Stirred.
Bienvenido a Deladeado pero no movido.
How is it going, guys?
It's going well. It's
It
going well, man.
is-
Sigh.
We're recording on a Tuesday, September 20th, a little later than we usually do, but we're
Ando
here.
chido.
We are here on a very special episode. It was brought to my attention that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, so hooray for that. I guess. I don't really care too much to be celebrated or whatever, but we're going to take the time this episode to talk about people that should be celebrated because they did great things. And they also happen to be Latinos here in the US of A. So before we get to that though, how was your guys' week? You do anything cool?
It was a lot of chilling. Back to the usual. I did get a haircut, so that was nice.
Fresh.
I don't feel like my head weighs 10 pounds anymore.
I got a haircut too, and I don't know if because it's usually a lady, because I go to a hair salon, but I guess they got a barber there to go on the weekends. And after I got the haircut done, he asked me if I come here often, and I don't know if I didn't know how to take that.
I could tell. You don't.
Well, yeah, it had been a while since I got my haircut, but I've been going to the same salon for like, I don't know, maybe 5 years now, something like that. And I'm like, I should be asking you that question. You know, you've never been here before. But anyways, it was interesting. I also went to IKEA this weekend, which was fun. You guys ever just go to a furniture store just to look at stuff?
No.
IKEA is pretty fun. It's
I've
fun
never
to
been
hang
to
out.
IKEA.
Yeah, it's a lot of really cool ideas that you can get from IKEA. Just looking at the different display rooms and stuff, and so it was pretty nice. Went with my girlfriend. We had a all you can eat sushi day into IKEA to walk off, bajar la panza. So
Did you check? Do they still have that green kitchen little show off area?
a green kitchen. I mean, they do have an IKEA kitchen.
Yeah,
Like-
but like
like
it's
a
one of those
food.
setups. They have a setup, showroom floor setup kind of thing. And there's a green kitchen that
There was
And-
one that was green.
I never envisioned, painting a room of my house hunter green, but that shit looks poppin'.
Dude, that is hilarious. It's actually super, super funny that you're saying that because when Leslie and I walked into that room, we're like, bro, why is these green walls? Why is it working?
Yeah, it looks fucking good.
That's so funny because we actually had that conversation. That's great. Yeah. So very interesting indeed, that Hunter Green, and it does work for some reason. What did you do, Edwin?
Just doing work and don't recall. Because I didn't specifically want to get a haircut, I got a headband. And I want to take a second, just a second,
A headband.
to shout out headband technology. I never wanted a headband because you get that fluffy shit that looks like a towel and you look like a fucking loser, like you're all, Jordaned out but don't know how to play basketball kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But headband technology is now uses dry fit, type material that is just, it's fucking nice, dude. Feels good.
I low-key been wanting to get one of those just to, like, when I go to the gym and I don't feel like wearing a hat, just use that to kind of, hold the hair back a little bit.
Yeah.
But, well, yeah, very cool.
My curls have started to be weighed down by like water or gel or stuff. And they get in my hair, especially when I have gel. They just get on my forehead and I just get gel on my forehead. So I started putting the headband on, to stop getting gel on my forehead.
Sounds like you need to switch to pomade, dude.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Yeah, and it looks good. Everybody's like, "Holy shit, look at you. Ready to go."
For a headband. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess
my life has completely changed. Let me tell you about that, man.
You know what? Let's just start the episode.
All right.
This is what we've come to.
Talking about headbands.
Talking about headbands. Oh boy.
Have you considered the man bun, Edwin?
I can do a man bun actually, and I tried it, and my mom said it works, and I don't want it to work.
Why not? It's a
I don't
good
know.
look.
It's kind of oof, you know. Like I have a little poof in the back, looks like a fucking Pomeranian.
You could look Cuban, or who else wears their hair like that sometimes? Dominicans, maybe?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a
But-
cool look. I mean, you used to rock a frohawk, so I feel like if you can rock a frohawk, you can definitely rock a man bun.
Yeah, the faux hawk, and then I've always liked my hair, so I've always put it at the forefront. But I don't know. I don't know about that man bun though. It's a little too much.
Well, let's get right into a little bit of disturbing news. It has come to my attention, thanks to Jeffrey here, that apparently there's some human trafficking going on in the U.S. and so for some reason people are debating whether or not it's legal. So, for those who don't know and are learning just as I've just learned, so the governor of Florida, DeSantis, I think his first name's Rob. Anyways,
I thought it was Ron. One of the two.
Ron DeSantis. Okay, yeah, sounds good. So basically, there's calls for investigation because it is Ron. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis broke the law transporting migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. And apparently the governor is doubling down his decision to do so. So he's describing the flights as voluntary and basically saying that that they've received a good ride and it's a humane thing to do. So basically, just imagine folks crossing the border into Texas, and DeSantis believes that a lot of these immigrants are going to end up going to Florida. So they're kind of like, I guess, a team effort with Texas, that they're basically handing these pamphlets to people and basically explaining to them, hey, we're going to take you to this Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, and there's going to be jobs there, and then everything's going to be all right. And so the folks that I don't know if they have translators there. I don't know how they're giving them the information, but basically they're signing forms and they're being transported by air to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. And I'm looking at the budget here. It looks like $615,000 just to transport them, which comes out to about $12,300 per migrant. So I guess we could do a little bit of math. Let's see how many that is. 615,000 divided by 12,300. 50. So 50 migrants. I thought there was going to be more, but so 50 migrants shipped over, and then once they get there, well, let's just say the grass isn't greener. They get there and they're confused. Everything that they're basically promised, it's not there. And I guess the Democrats caught wind of this and now they want his head. Have you guys heard anything about this story?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm the one who brought it to the show, and it's disgusting behavior, dude. You're luring these people under false pretenses to basically make them someone else's problem. You know, claiming you're washing your hands of them, but you're not solving anything. They're in a worse situation now than they were before. Now they're in a double foreign land, right? Because maybe they knew their way around Texas, but now they don't know their way around Martha's Vineyard.
Right.
And they were promised jobs, they were promised money, they were promised housing, and they got none of that.
Yeah. So Rachel Self, a Massachusetts lawyer specializing in immigration, has been very, very vocal with this and has had interactions with the migrants that were basically dropped off at Martha's Vineyard, and well, they believe that the migrants are victims of kidnapping. So, oddly enough, if basically the government, or I don't know who they're gonna talk to. Let me see. According to, I guess they're gonna talk to like the immigration, so the U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services, and I guess if they also agree that basically these migrants have been victims of a crime, then they could apply to a special type of a visa that'll make them legal to be here, kind of like a asylum type of thing. So I guess there's a little bit of silver lining here, where if DeSantis did it, and if they were in fact misled, and all of this stuff is really bad for them, and they're kind of wiping their hands, because there's two sides to the story, So I don't know what's really going on behind closed doors, but let's say that they were actually misled and everything. Looks like there is a little bit of silver lining if the government agrees and they end up becoming legal here. So,
oh god, dude, you telling me this just scares me for how he's gonna spin it during an election season. He's gonna be like, well, because of my actions, 50 people got citizenship. They were granted political asylum. I'm a hero to the Latin community. Oh my god.
Yeah, well,
I can hear them. I can hear them now.
Well, if speaking of the politics behind it, the Democratic candidate Charlie Crist, who's running to unseat DeSantis in November, well, they already launched a digital ad accusing DeSantis of putting, quote unquote, putting politics over people's lives. So it's definitely already turning, the political machine is already doing its thing. But at the end of the day, this is people's lives. So I really don't like having to, I guess, talk about these people like as if they're just like some objects that we're kind of just tossing around and doing whatever we want with them, because it is a very unfortunate situation that they find themselves in, that they had to travel God knows how long. A lot of these immigrants, I think, are thought to be Venezuelan, I think I read. So I mean, that the trek from Venezuela to here, or it doesn't matter what part of Latin America they're from, to come all the way up here and then just have this mass amount of confusion and deception going on. It's really sad, and I hope that they are able to get some help, like some proper help. I don't know how Massachusetts is in terms of helping immigrants, but let's hope that they're training them right. Is there anything else you guys would like to add to that?
I hope they do get their visas and everything gets worked out, because that's a real shitty situation. And I don't know, like, it's motherfuckers should go to prison for that shit. Like, how do you not go to prison after fucking human trafficking? But
well, they're gonna say that they signed forms, and they cover their own asses with this kind of shit, unfortunately.
But shit like that can easily be destroyed in court. Like, how are you gonna? They agreed under false pretenses, right?
True.
But so again, this is just the Reddit headline. There is a sheriff in Texas that is currently looking to press criminal charges. So we'll see where that leads. But
wait, who?
I forgot his name, but there is a sheriff in Texas who is investigating all of this, and he's looking to press criminal charges against.
So law enforcement is trying to to even go against the grain here a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It'd be your own sometimes.
It's promising.
I hope he has success. He doesn't get disappeared. You know what I'm saying?
This ain't Russia, dude.
It doesn't get disappeared. Yikes. Let me see. So just a little bit of tidbits before we move on here. So I guess back in 2019, DeSantis signed into law a measure banning sanctuary cities in Florida, and basically law enforcement is required to work with federal immigration authorities to report undocumented immigrants. So it's definitely kind of hot in Florida in terms of if you're a immigrant with no papers. It's kind of, I don't know, like this is, I hate going to the politics behind it, but unfortunately there's a lot of people that really don't like the thought of immigrants coming in and either taking their jobs or requiring like federal funds to get up on their feet, etc. And there obviously there's racism. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem like it's going to be that much of a political hit for the folks down there in Florida. But if DeSantis does get put under some serious investigation and like some serious allegations do start going through into the courts, it's going to be very interesting to see what the fallout of this is going to be.
Fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I think DeSantis is like okay, and just in terms of like, I'm sure all governors do a lot of shady shit behind closed doors. But DeSantis in particular just can't seem to get out of the news. He's always doing something crazy, and Florida. I mean, Florida's just crazy overall. I mean, people eat each other's faces down there, so. I don't know. I jokingly
You can't attribute some shitty guy to saying, "Hey, he's from Florida."
I mean, have you seen the people from Florida?
I mean, that's a result. That's a direct result of them not being able to name people, so they just say Florida man, you know. And it's always just, you know, if everything was California man, like. You know what I mean? We'd have the same rep down here.
All right. So let me nip this in the bud real quick. The reason you hear so much crazy shit go down in Florida is because they have like a law that states that any arrest needs to be made public the next day.
But you cannot name people.
Pretty sure you can. I don't know about the specifics on that, but it's basically just that. People. So when people get arrested for dumbass shit, which happens everywhere, it gets highlighted in Florida because every arrest gets published in Florida. So all of the dumb shit gets highlighted. You know, this isn't a law anywhere else. I'm sure dumbass people get arrested everywhere, but you just don't have to print it.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it public.
Wow, I did not know that. Well, there it is. I mean,
it's still easy to shit on them. So
it's still not going to change my mind about Florida. But
it'd be very easy to shit on them.
Yeah, but it's just like it's just like a lesser.
When they're no longer a state.
It's just like a lesser California. So,
dude, it's like we're pretty much almost directly correlated to each other. Anything that Florida has, we have, except for the Everglades. But still, like Florida and California, like. In terms of amenities, you got beaches, you got Disney, you got like Universal Studios. Like they have everything we do over here, except
you name theme parks.
I know, but like
theme parks are in every state,
dude. Just theme parks, yeah.
They have everything that we do.
That's what I base everything on. Exactly. Just, do they have Disney? Yup. Okay, they're totally us.
You don't have to worry about Florida, dude.
They're just like us, you guys.
They're going to be underwater very shortly, so we're fine.
So are we, bitch.
It won't make it to us, dude. It'll get Los Angeles. We'll have beachfront property. It'll be fine.
Ooh,
we won't. We won't. We'll get pushed out.
Well, that is true. We are renting. I guess it's not beachfront property.
I'm not renting. I'm a homeowner.
Okay. Jeff owns a home, so there it is. All right. Well, let's move on to what we actually came here to do, shall we? Hispanic Heritage Month, and Edwin and I got into a little bit of a verbal scuffle over just like the word Hispanic. I don't really care too much about the word. I understand that it has its history and that it was created by the whites to basically group us all together, even though Latinos, like, we all have different nationalities, but they grouped us all together into the one word Hispanic.
On the sole basis that you speak Spanish, and that's it. Whereas Latinos are from any Latin American country, and you don't necessarily have to speak Spanish or give precedence to your colonizers. You're just Latin American.
I mean, I only know 2 Latin American languages.
Wait, what? 2 Latin American languages?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
speak either Spanish or Portuguese.
Yeah, but it's not, Hispanic.
Wait. So are Brazilians not Hispanic?
They're Latinos, but not Hispanic. Yeah.
Wait,
Because
Brazilians are
they were-
Latinos?
Yeah, they were calling because they speak a Latin language, and also they're in
Oh,
they're in
yeah,
Latin
yeah.
America. They are in Latin America. That's the Latino is based on geography. Hispanic is based on do you speak Spanish. That's it.
I see.
So you can be Latino but not Hispanic in the sense that you don't speak Spanish.
Can you be white and Hispanic?
See, that's the thing, though. Okay, this whole debate of the heated exchange that Frantic and I had brought back a memory of when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was applying for colleges. I was applying for grants. I was applying for all these things, and also, taking the SATs and all that stuff. And when I had the question of, "Hey, I don't see Latino here," and then my teacher said, just put white. And I was like, fuck no. Fuck no, I ain't gonna put white. What do you mean? They're like, oh, wait, you don't have any designation. Put white. And I was like, no. And it's just one of those things that at the end of the day, I ended up putting white, but I was just like, I'm not fucking white.
But see, that's another thing, dude. You're not white because they told you you're not white. The census told you you're not white.
Dude,
Wait, was there no
even if you
Hispanic
fucking
option?
there was no Hispanic option or anything. So it was like kind of fucking weird because I was like, I don't see either Hispanic or Latino, and it's one of those things that a lot of people use interchangeably, but we've mentioned that Hispanic comes from Spanish language, which I do speak Spanish, right? But if you were to decide, you were to tell me what would you describe yourself as, it'd be Latino. Even though I do have a colonized ass last name,
I mean, we all kind of do.
So
Yeah, so Hispanic Heritage Month celebrated from September 15th to October 15th. So we get a full month-ish, like half and half. So I guess 2 halves make a whole. But Hispanic Heritage Month is specifically for, this is according to the definition of Hispanic Heritage Month, that it is a chance to celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. So with that being said, we all kind of basically decided who we think is worthy of being mentioned today as someone that has done something great and noteworthy for the culture here. Especially, I mean, a lot of us listening to this podcast, we're all from the U.S. or born in here or lived here a lot of our lives. And so we definitely need to have good role models to follow and maybe an example as well as an example of what can be done. And it's not like because you're brown or because you're Latino or Hispanic that you can't achieve great things, because even the folks that we mentioned today in this podcast, a lot of them, they were able to achieve a lot of great things despite all the troubles that they went through. So who'd like to start?
I can start. Mine is short and sweet. I feel like I don't have much to say, but he's still a great person. I wanted to highlight the Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Roberto Clemente.
A baseball player.
Yes, sir.
Why am I not surprised?
Hey, I like the sport, all right? So, just to highlight some of his career achievements in baseball, he was a 15-time All-Star, 12-time Golden Glove, which essentially means he was the best at his position defensively.
Well, damn.
4-time batting title, which means he was the best hitter at his position. 1 Most Valuable Player award, 2 World Series titles, and one of those he won the World Series MVP.
Damn, a whole ass MVP too.
Yep. So that's 1 regular season MVP and 1 World Series MVP.
Well, when did he play? Is he still playing now, or like who is he?
No. So he started in April of 1955, and he ended in October of 1972.
Oh, okay. So this was way before our time.
Yes, way before our time. He actually, I think it was like eight or 7 years after Jackie debuted.
Oh, after Jackie. So
Yes.
so there was still a lot of
There was still integration going on.
yeah,
in baseball.
okay.
So he essentially was to Latin American players what Jackie was to African American players.
Oh, gotcha.
He was the first Latin American Major League Baseball player.
I see. Okay. So what was his name again?
Roberto Clemente.
Roberto Clemente. All right, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
and then,
I'll have to do some research on him, because you're saying he's kind of like our Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it also without Jackie, you wouldn't have him either, right? But still,
True.
he is one of them. But he was most known for his things off the field, right? He was a great humanitarian, great human being. He spent most of his off season, helping charities, children, things of that nature. And he was in Nicaragua, and then he left. 3 weeks after he was there, they had a major earthquake, right?
Mhm.
So he arranged for supplies to be sent over to relief victims, right?
Okay.
He sent 3 planes, got word that the government diverted them from the people that really needed it because it was a corrupt government. So he was
Yikes.
like, all right, fuck this. Arranges for a 4th plane to be sent out. He gets on the plane to ensure that it gets to the right people. But the plane crashed shortly after taking off. And he
Damn.
sadly did not survive. At the age of 38, Roberto Clemente died. Sad times.
Man, I fucking hate when bad things have to happen to good people. It's like I know life isn't fair and all of that, and it's tragic when death isn't fair either.
Yeah, and at his funeral service, all but one of his teammates were there. And you know why the one guy wasn't there? Because he was in the ocean looking for Roberto Clemente's body.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was never recovered.
Well, damn.
Damn, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I looked him up real quick, and apparently he's also the first Hispanic baseball player to be inducted into the
Hall
the
of
National
Fame.
Baseball Hall of
Mhm.
Fame.
They made an exception for him. It used to be 5 years after retirement. You're eligible for being elected. They said, all right, 6 months after death, you can be elected into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Well, damn. You try to do a good thing, and unfortunate.
But he was a great baseball player and a better person, so we remember him for that.
True. Yeah, man. Like, we're gonna keep talking about other great figures in our culture, but does it you're talking about Roberto Clemente made me feel not like inadequate, but more of what am I doing to further the legacy of our ancestors?
As long as you, I think, as long as you live a humble and honorable life, you're doing more than enough to uphold the legacy of your ancestors, the people who put you in a position that you are to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, for me, since most of my family is all in Mexico, and I only really have my parents and my brothers here, and my cousins as well. It is sometimes difficult to fully connect to like the bigger picture of like what it is really to be Latino or Hispanic or whatever word you choose to use. And like when I hear about these great people, and it makes me feel really good, but then like I just mentioned, it makes me also feel like I'm not doing anything.
But it
Like,
also makes you feel not alone in the struggles that you're facing in your life. You know,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that you're facing, and a lot of people before you have faced. And you take solace in that, and you gain strength and motivation to keep press forward. And I think that's beautiful in its own right.
Yeah, it is. And whenever I think of, I mean, like my parents, that everything that they've had to struggle with and everything that I had to help them with when I was basically a kid. Um, they went through a lot of shit, and they lived in fear for basically the majority of their lives here, especially when things started getting crazy with the like the checkpoints and people getting deported and stuff like that. Like the constant fear that my family lived in for the longest time was it definitely put things into a different perspective in terms of just like how privileged I was to be living here in the US and having like papers and everything. And it motivated me more to like finish school and to do everything so that at the end of the day, like my parents' efforts weren't in vain. And
Now that you mentioned school, oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
I'm just gonna finish with like right now that I'm at my job and I feel like I might be close to a promotion. It kind of just starts feeling like, wow, like I'm finally gonna be at that point where I'm able to give back to my parents for everything that they've done for me. And that's like huge because I mean we all have our own like hopes and dreams, and we all have like our own personal goals, and maybe if you come from like a family that already has money and all that stuff, then you only really have to worry about yourself. But when you come from like a immigrant family that's still basically struggling, then it is like an extra thing that you have to do. So it's not enough just to get by for yourself, but you also have to do that extra the same way that they did for you. So I don't know, just
Give
something
back.
that like yeah, something that just comes to mind whenever I hear about like a lot of greats.
I feel extremely like it's definitely a burden of immigrant kids, like kids that come from immigrant parents. It's a burden that we do it like inherit. You have to be able to make it so that then you can provide for your family, right? People who risk so much, to did so much for you, and it's not a thing that I hold with contempt or anything. I think it's a badge of honor. You become molded in a different light. You start thinking about there's responsibility to everything that you do, right? Growing up, the word Veka was like my mom's like light at the end of the tunnel, right? And for anybody that means scholarship, right? Anybody who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know the word in Spanish, that means scholarship. And it was one of those things that I had to go to college, but because she couldn't put me through college and there was no backbone to any of it, the scholarship was absolutely crucial. And I remember coming home and I told my mom, hey, mom, I'm not going to have to pay to go to college. I got the scholarships. and she cried. She cried for probably 30 to 40 minutes straight. It was a life realization of hers to put me in a position where I can get that scholarship. And it meant so much to her. And, you know, we talked about it already in previous podcasts, how that money wasn't handled in the best way by me, but that's mistakes that I had to make because I didn't have that backbone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like I don't resent any of it, but I do wear it like a badge of honor, right? I made my mistakes where I made them, but I didn't have that support that would help me from making those mistakes, right? And I don't know, I feel like I learned invaluable lessons that going forward I feel honored to have gone through.
Yeah. Imagine if we didn't take Avid in school. Like, yeah, maybe we would have had somebody that gave us a tip of like, hey man, you should probably apply to school to college now because the applications are up until this date. And that's like one thing that I will say, even though I reluctantly got into the Avid program in high school, I do see that that was such a huge resource for me as someone who was a first generation to go to college here in the US. So like literally nobody would have been able to tell me in my family like how to get into college or when to apply or where to apply, etc. Like all the tips and tricks that Avid taught us with the applications as well. So
you mentioning Avid and being so positive about it is that other side of the coin. Avid is for shitters in every other school system.
I've only ever heard negative things about the program.
Avid is for the shitter kids. It really is. And we saw it as a prestigious thing, a thing that will put our generation and put them on the right step to go to college, to do all these things. To us, Avid was prestigious. To us,
probably because at least at our high school, all the smartest kids were in Avid. Not every smart kid, but a lot of the smart kids in school were in Avid.
Yeah, but the rest of the nation sees Avid as, you know, this is for kids who, frankly, aren't going to be much. And it's kind of interesting the dichotomy of that program, even within socioeconomic, you know, places, like just different places in general. It's fucking wild to me.
So I never took Avid, right? I was in the gifted and talented program in middle school, which is GATE, for those who don't know.
Oh, you smarty pants.
Yeah, so I remember one of the teachers, he straight up told us, avoid Avid like the plague. These people do not care about you. They are only in it for their own self-interest. They are going to target you because you are more likely to go to college than anyone else. They are going to remove you from some of your classes, so they're going to make it, essentially they're just going to make it harder for you to do your schoolwork, is what they told us. And I was like, okay, shit. All right, bet. I won't take Avid. And then my freshman year, they made us take like a health class, right?
Yeah, talking about useless.
I had the highest grade in the class, so the teacher came up to me and she was like, "Hey, you should join Avid." And I was like, "Nah, thanks, I'm good. That shit's useless, yo." And she got like super offended. And I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm not gonna take Avid."
I think it was a little irresponsible for your teacher to tell you that, if I'm gonna be honest, because they're pulling you away from a resource. Even if you learn only one thing, and maybe you had to struggle a little bit more in school because maybe you had to take an extra class, I don't think that's like justification for telling your students to avoid something like the plague.
Because here's the thing, right? Like a lot of the Avid people had to take summer school because they still needed electives to graduate. They still needed PE to graduate. So Avid was the class that made them take summer school.
What's wrong with summer school?
I mean, that's your summer, dude. I never
You had to do a little extra work, and all of a
Fuck
sudden
that,
it's
dude.
like
The summers are for you,
avoided like
man.
the plague. Oh my
The summers are
God.
for COD, bro. What you talking about?
No, yeah, teachers.
The
I don't know
summers are
what
for
the fuck.
COD.
I don't know who hurt your teacher, but that's some bullshit.
No, I have more. So my cousin was I was in Avid, right? And she was
Okay.
failing the class, and that like almost stopped her from graduating.
If you fail Avid, that's your own fault. I don't understand that. How is that Avid's fault that you're failing Avid?
Because she shouldn't have been in the program to begin with.
Okay.
All right, this is about Hispanic
That's
and
funny.
Latino heritage,
just
not
saying.
Avid.
Fuck Avid.
I-
That's cool. You don't have to be in Avid to be successful for sure. I'm just saying it was a resource that for me, if it wasn't for Avid, I don't know where I would be right now. I could still be here. I could be better. Who knows? But it was a resource.
Personally, I hated Avid, but yeah, I totally do agree that it's a
I'm
resource.
glad it helped you. It's good, you know. I didn't need the resource. I had plenty of experience to draw upon. You know.
You had your sister too, right?
Yeah, she did all of it before me.
Did she do Avid?
No,
Oh, okay.
she also told him to fuck off.
Oh, that's great. All right. Anyway, this is an episode about Avid. So go ahead, Edwin.
I chose Zach de la Rocha, known as the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine. Now, that's a very unconventional pick, for sure. But it's pretty interesting what he stands for and the human rights activism that he does through his music and, through his actions, He was born in Long Beach to father, Beto de la Rocha, which was a muralist for. There's a group called Los Four. I don't know you either heard of them or you don't. And Los Four was an establishing figure for Chicano art to be accepted by the art mainstream. Right? So
Sounds like
they
a
were
lot
the
of.
ones.
Sounds like a bunch of taggers to me.
They're the ones that put murals up in LA so that, bring it up. They brought it up so that people could appreciate it. There's one mural on the way to, LA, Hollywood area. There's a bunch of cars. I don't know if you've seen them on the side of the freeway. Right. But that's a very popular.
Like right next to
mural.
the tents, or which one?
Yeah, it's on the 10. And
No,
it's
I meant the tents. Like the. Anyways, yeah.
Oh, okay. I completely missed that. But it's called Let's Go to the Olympics, and it's like 4 cars, 4 painted cars. You could still see it in LA. It's pretty dope. But Zach moved. His parents split, and his mom moved to Irvine, which was an overwhelmingly white area where he experienced racism for being Mexican, right? And he did a lot in the sense of like activism, right? I said that in 1999 he spoke at the International Commission of Human Rights of the UN on behalf of Mumia Abu Jamal, and he called for the end of the death penalty. And I don't know if you guys know who Mumia is.
No.
Sounds like a mummy, but I don't know.
He
don't know
was
who
a
that is.
leader of the Black Panthers that got accused of the murder of a cop, right?
Okay.
And he got sentenced to life in prison and execution. And they essentially kept delaying his once they established that they weren't going to execute him, they kept delaying his release to the point where he's still there to this day, right? And during the autopsy and all these like accounts have been super fraudulent, right? The coroner said that he extracted a 44 caliber bullet from the body, and when they asked him again, because the gun that Mumia had was 38, he later said that that was a rough estimate, that he had made, and it's a lot of like iffy evidence that is keeping him still there. And it's pretty interesting because that's not the first time he does this, right? he also talks about Leonard Peltier, which is a Peltier, Leonard Peltier or Peltier, a Native American activist who was framed or allegedly killed 2 FBI officers with the same amount of faulty inconsistencies in the trial as well.
Okay.
Right. The bullets were different as well, and it's pretty crazy how those two stories of two activist leaders suddenly killing people have been, just the
There's something
inconsistencies when the
there.
trials are there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Michael Moore, the director, he directed Steep Down in the Fire, right? And in that video, they try to go to the New York Stock Exchange and get in. And that video is footage of them getting escorted out. Like, that's not like,
So just to be clear, we're talking about Zach De La Rocha again, right?
yeah, or Rage Against the Machine, right? Which is like, it's pretty great. And it was the precursor for the Occupy Wall Street movement. And it's been pretty interesting. Like, even in songs, right? Rage Against the Machine, he writes those songs, and there's a song called, I'll go through a few songs that I think are worth noting, right?
Okay.
So there's Darkness. He talks about the AIDS epidemic and the government's lack of action as genocide, right? And the direct quote is, AIDS is killing the entire African nation, and a vaccine that is supposedly under preparation. But these governments, they don't mind their procrastination. They say, we'll kill them off, take their land, and go there for vacation. And that's like crazy shit. And another line is like, you cram your culture down my throat. Say I'm inferior. When I find it, I choke. You fill my mind with false sense of history, and then you wonder why I have no identity. It's like real heavy shit, right? With the conversations of identity going through, and like there's a lot of songs. The most popular song that they have is "Killing in the Name of," or "Killing in the Name," and it's about the Rodney King riots. Rodney King is a man who was killed by 4 LAPD officers, right? While they were arresting him, and they got acquitted from using excessive force, and LA exploded in riots, and that's self-explanatory in the lyrics. Some of those that burn, the workforces are the same that burn crosses, and such as that, right? Bulls on Parade, he calls out the fetish of politicians and policymakers on warmongering and stuff like that, where weapons, not food, not homes, not shoes, there's no need. They're just a way to feed the war cannibal animal, and I really enjoyed that he has taken his medium, the way he writes his music, to talk about the marginalized communities that he's experienced, not just Latino communities, but all sorts of communities.
All minorities, basically.
Yeah, and I definitely think that minorities should stick with each other, because at the end we're all minorities. And I've echoed that in a podcast episode that I never released, but I wrote during the height of COVID. But yeah, maybe I'll release it.
When are you gonna release that, dude? When are you gonna drop that fire mixtape?
Yeah, it was a little essay that I had wrote. It was pretty cool, but
I thought it was good, but you feel like maybe people weren't ready for all that, to have that conversation, or why do you think that you didn't want to put it out?
I didn't want to put it out because I was in a radical state of mind, in which, like, I wouldn't say radical, but I was just in a state of mind where I had just watched police killings over and over again. I had just watched the ugly truth of what our nation has become, right? I think we gloss over a little too much about QAnon and like last Donald Trump's speech. They all kind of did the Nazi salute, but with the finger sticking out, right? It's like we gloss over these things and kind of just like not pay any mind to them, but we're repeating history. We're exposing the cracks of what our society was based on, and it's real shitty to sit here and our nation is divided based on red or blue, and it's just disgusting to be hiding the actual problems of our society and being masked under media. Media is controlling what we decide, whether we're enraged or overjoyed. But media themselves, and we all know this, but we just let it happen. And that shit is fucking disgusting. Maybe I just got on my soapbox a little too much, but that's why I think
I feel you,
Zach
man.
Zach De La Rocha, he speaks his truth. He's out there being angry and demonstrating, the rage of the
Being against
oppressed.
the machine.
Yeah, the rage of the oppressed to fight the machine.
Yeah, I never. I mean, like Rage Against the Machine. I love the band, and I've always really like fucked with the lyrics and like hell yeah. Like whenever I listen to Rage Against the Machine, I feel like starting a riot and all that, right? What I didn't know was that the singer was of Latin descent.
Yeah, Mexican American.
Yeah. So I had no idea about that. Maybe if I would have known that, I would have looked into him as a person even more, other than just like oh man, this band is sick. Like this is one of like my top bands. Like these guys are great. They speak like some real shit, and makes you feel things, which is kind of like what you want out of music. And
Well,
yeah, that's awesome.
just a little more, I guess, a little tidbit. The Zapatista movement, I don't know if or the rebellion, I don't know if you've heard of that, but it played a significant role. It was a militia of indigenous people that fought against the Mexican government, and it led to the direct, obligation to make constitutional reforms that granted indigenous people local political autonomy and greater political participation at a national level in Mexico. And this
Okay.
was granted by his travels to Chiapas. Chiapas has had severe discrimination towards the indigenous people there, right? And it's our ancestry that we have just kind of neglected and thrown to the side. And I think that has inspired him so much. He's written 2 different songs on it, the War Within a Breath and then The People of the Sun. They refer to this single event, the Zapatista movement, of giving indigenous people in Mexico rights, which is something that isn't really talked about too much.
Yeah, I don't know what the politics are in Mexico. Sometimes I try to get into it, but I think it's just, well, specifically in Mexico, because of the existence of the cartels. Like as much as I want to follow the politics, sometimes it's kind of just like, well, at the end it just feels all kind of rigged. So in the end, it doesn't matter to me. I'm sure there's a lot of shit going on here in the U.S. as well, and maybe it's because I don't know it to be true, and it's all just conspiracy stuff, that I still kind of try to follow things that are going on here, especially since it kind of affects us. I mean, some of the things, not everything, but yeah, like just speaking back to Zach De La Rocha, I think it's definitely admirable to be an activist in current day, because I mean, there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit out there that needs to be fixed, and then the fact that he also does it through a music medium is awesome, because it's a lot easier to digest for I guess the masses. And I mean, his music is not just for Latinos or Hispanic people here in the U.S. as well. It's it's a message that I guess to some people who might not be really listening to the lyrics might just be like, fuck yeah, I just want to like mosh and like, get down right now. And then to the other people that listen to it, and then if that sparks a change in them to do something uh, remotely activist, and I think it's great. This is a very good example. I didn't know about Sac de la Rocha like this.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, yesterday we watched the Los Tigres del Norte and his video, and it's just like it's what he's about. It's and Los Tigres del Norte is one of those groups that are just intrinsic to Mexican culture in the United States, and man, I don't know. It was really cool to see that.
Very nice. I guess I'll go with mine now. It was so hard to decide, so I went with two.
Bring it.
And they're probably one of the most iconic duo in terms of just like their impact on things here in the U.S. in terms of the treatment of immigrants and all that. So first one is Cesar Chavez. I'm sure we've all heard of that. And the second is Dolores Huerta, which maybe you might not recognize the name, but I'll talk a little bit about her, and then we'll get there. So for those who may not know, Cesar Chavez, he's a Mexican American labor leader and civil rights activist who basically dedicated his life to improving the working and living conditions of farm workers. And I mean, even today, it still seems like farm workers are getting the shit end of the stick. But imagine if Cesar Chavez didn't push for everything that he pushed, and imagine how farm workers would be treated now. It already looks bad, but just imagine it could be worse. One of the things that made Cesar Chavez so impactful, so recognized, I don't know what the word is exactly, but he basically committed to the same nonviolent resistance tactics that were practiced by like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. So his way of like coming about like this revolution and this like wanting to like improve the lives of others, he did it in a nonviolent ways, which is, to some people, you might think that the only way to resolve things is with violence. I usually like to not do violence. And so, and reading about Cesar Chavez and the way he went about things, it's just very admirable that he kind of went he took the more difficult route. And, but anyways, a little bit of life of Cesar Chavez. In 1952 is when he first became a grassroots organizer while he worked at a lumber yard in San Jose. And he basically just worked towards registering new voters and fighting racial and economic discrimination. He eventually resigned from the organization that he created because they all refused to support his efforts to form a labor union. And that's when he created another organization, and this time he also created it with Dolores Huerta. And so this is where Dolores Huerta comes into the picture. She actually received the associate teaching degree from the University of Pacific's Delta College. So she was a little more educated, where Cesar Chavez, he basically dropped out of school at the 8th grade because he had to work in the farm work basically full time. So Dolores Huerta, she actually goes to school. She briefly teaches in the 1950s, but after seeing a lot of her students basically coming to school hungry and realizing that maybe she has a higher calling. And so in 1955, she also started her activist career. And then that's when you jump to 1962, where Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, they founded the National Farm Workers Association, which was the predecessor of the United Farm Workers Union, which formed 3 years later. So they're able to get that done. And one of the biggest things that they were able to organize together was in 1965, the Delano strike of 5,000 grape workers, and it lasted 5 years. And basically, they were just boycotting grapes from California, and they did a 340-mile march from Delano to Sacramento, and they went like full stop, like just right now when we have let's not call them riots. When we have marches, it's within like a city, but imagine going from 340-mile march. Okay, it's a lot of miles. So they did it real big back in the day, and obviously in the end they were able to get things done, because they are historic figures because they actually did the thing, which is, I guess in a way, this is just me thinking out loud. It's kind of sad that there's so many great people that fell short, and maybe their names are kind of lost in history, but the folks who actually did get it done in the end are champions. And so we have Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, basically champions in the Latino/Hispanic community. And Chavez died in his sleep in 1993 at the age of 66. So he's not with us anymore. But Dolores Huerta is actually still alive, and she's actually still doing really great work. She's, I think, 89 now. And,
Hell yeah.
And she's still lobbying for like improving workers' representation and legislations. And during the 1990s and 2000s, she worked to elect more Latinos and women to political office and champion women's issues. So she is still putting in that work, and that amount of selflessness it's crazy, man. Like these people were from a different generation. Now, like our issues are like somebody said this on TikTok and it's problematic, but then they face like some real issues,
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna end with a couple of quotes here. By the way, both Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta both received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Chavez received it after he passed away by Bill Clinton, and Dolores Huerta got it in 2012. And for those who don't know, the Presidential Medal of Freedom is basically the highest civilian award that you can get in the U.S. But anyway, so this is a quote from Cesar Chavez that I thought was great. It says, "I'm convinced that the truest act of courage, the strongest act of manliness, is to sacrifice ourselves for others in a totally non-violent struggle for justice." Followed up by, "To be a man is to suffer for others. God help us be men."
I love that. Because as soon as you resort to violence, you're falling trapped to whatever preconceived notions are already established there for you.
Yeah, I've always hated that. Like, when people view you as less than a human or an animal, or they just view you straight up as just you're a minority, so you're either violent or you're uneducated or whatever. And then as soon as you just get a little upset about things, it's just like, see,
There
I
you
told
are,
you.
yeah.
There's your true colors right there.
Yeah,
Like,
that shit's
oh my
fucking
God.
shitty. You have to take all the high roads, and all they do is sit there and oppress you. And it's just
And
like,
if you take the high road, they look at you like you're holier than thou, and it's just like, oh, you think you're better than me? Anyways, that bullshit. So
yeah.
Cesar Chavez, and then the Dolores Huerta quote, and this I don't know if you guys know, but this might be very shocking to you, but you guys know the slogan "Si se puede"?
Yeah.
Oh shit,
She's the one who created that.
that's badass.
Yeah, and she's still alive today, so good for her. Si se puede. Yes, we can. As President Barack Obama said it during one of his speeches. Probably a nod towards all that. Just the spirit of the revolution. But
Speaking of Barack Obama, I guess a quick little tidbit on Zac de la Rocha, right? In August 2008, he had a music festival, and at the end, the music festival was to protest the Iraq War. And at the end, he ended up having a protest with all the war veterans, right? And after a 4-hour standoff with authorities, he met with Barack Obama to talk things out, then presidential candidate Barack Obama, and they talk things out. It's pretty badass.
Do you guys think you guys are gonna be activists for anything in your lives? It's okay to say no.
Probably not.
I've definitely been angry enough, right? And I've supported causes, but me myself, I've been to, the Black Lives Matter stuff, but to do that every single day and stuff, I don't think I would be able to. But I definitely do have that fire inside me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it in the podcast. I kind of just concern myself with the people around me, and maybe it's a disservice because I should be doing more, but I kind of just focus on the people around me first, and just make sure things are. I don't know. I like to point things out, sometimes to my detriment, but whenever people be saying some stupid shit, I try not to be confrontational, but I find myself just more than likely just telling them that that's a very ignorant viewpoint to still have.
And that doesn't lead to anything? They're just
I mean, what?
sure
They can get upset at me and stuff, but I'm not fighting them. I'm just giving them my opinion. And sure, they've gotten confrontational in the past with me, but maybe it's just because of just how calm I am that people are just kind of they don't feel threatened because I'm not really calling them an ignorant person. I'm just saying that the idea is ignorant. But yeah, that's just kind of me though. I voice my thoughts sometimes a little too much.
Do you want to play that game of Latino Americans that we didn't know were Latin Americans until now?
Oh yeah, sure. You have did you compose a list?
Yeah, I have a tiny list, right?
All right, surprise us here. Who else is among us?
There's Lupita Nyong'o.
That name just sounds Latin American.
She was born in Mexico City to Kenyan parents, right? So
Kenyan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's Lupita Nyong'o, right?
I don't even know who that is.
She's fuck. She just won an Oscar? Was it an Oscar? I don't know. She's an actress. She's badass. Here's another one. And I'm gonna read you the name, and then you're gonna tell me who this person is. Scott Ramon Seguro Mescudi.
Razor Ramon? The bad guy?
No, Scott Ramon Seguro Mescudi.
It sounds like Kid Cudi, but I don't know, dude.
That's Kid Cudi.
Wait, Kid Cudi?
Yeah, his dad is Mexican American.
All right.
Yeah, so we got
he mixed in a little bit with us. Very nice.
Yeah, there's Christina Aguilera, who's Ecuadorian American. You can kind of tell by the name, right? Well, she has Latino roots.
Yeah, right? I can see that.
There's Lloyd Banks from G Unit, Puerto Rican American. Yeah. There's Mariah Carey, Venezuelan American. I don't know if Venezuelan. Yeah, I don't know if Venezuelan people want that.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, I don't know if they.
Dude, she's famous.
I mean, shit.
Hey, I'm about to bump. All I want for Christmas is you, just a little bit more.
There's Kat Von D as well, right?
Who's that?
Wait, is she the tattoo lady?
She's a tattoo lady, yeah. She has that. What is it called? Like greaser lady type aesthetic.
Pinup?
Kind of like
okay,
like greaser pinup.
Yeah. There's the queen herself. My queen, not my queen. Hashtag my queen. Fergie Ferg.
Didn't we research this and found that she's like Not if barely, if
she's
any.
there. She counts.
She's like 0.1%, like it's a very small percentage. I
For
think
the
we ended up
sake
coming out with.
of claiming
For the sake of
Fergie.
clickbait? Alright,
Yeah, for
Fergie,
the sake-
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're gonna put that as our title. Fergie is what?
Oh my
We got
God.
Demi Lovato, right? We got
I feel like a lot of these people don't lean into that.
Christina
is it not
Christina
marketable?
Milian. Huh?
Is it not marketable to lean into that? Because I feel like a lot of these artists, they're either viewed as black artists or American artists, but I
Well,
don't
if you're
really
like 5 generations back and you don't speak the language, then why would you associate, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
Because then it just looks
understand.
like
If
you're pandering. It's like, look,
True.
guys, I'm Latin. It's me,
Yeah.
Fergie. Fergalicious.
Hola, soy
Fergalicioso.
Fergie.
Hola, soy Fergie.
Ferga. Oh my God, that sounds like something else.
Fergalicioso, Jesus. Never again, dude. But yeah, it's just like really, really interesting stuff to see people
Like-
that we didn't think were of Latino descent. You know, Mitt Romney's there. Mitt Romney.
Yeah, Romney, he's the whitest guy I know.
Yeah, this list is
This
just
list is
his-
fake. It's
his
starting
father-
to descend into
His
madness.
father,
these
his father
these
was born in
celebrities took
Chihuahua.
a 30.
His dad was born in
what is it?
Chihuahua.
His dad was born in Chihuahua.
Oh shit!
So
Oh fuck.
Chihuahua.
Nah, this
Doesn't
is
get-
these celebrities took an ancestry in me class DNA test and found they were
You
1%.
can't believe- You can't believe what they found. But yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is pretty interesting.
How about to close the episode? We kind of just speak to, I guess, what it means to you to be Latino or Hispanic or Spanish speaking. Like any thoughts about it at all?
If I'm being entirely honest, I've never put much weight to it.
Okay.
I am who I am. You know, it's not who I am, if that makes any sense. You know.
Right. So like you haven't let it define you. You're
Yeah,
your own
exactly.
person. Okay, I see.
I agree. I mean, I would consider myself American before I'd say before I say that I am, that I would be more I would never say I'd be more comfortable in Mexico because I frankly wouldn't.
Yeah,
You know?
I've never been to the country,
It's
so why would I?
I've
would I
been
wanna
to the
live
country,
there?
but I wasn't. I was exotic. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It was like even growing up in our high school, my nickname was Cubano because they didn't believe that I was Mexican. So it was just like real. I've always had this weird tiptoe of like, I'm not fully Mexican, I'm not fully black. What are you?
Dude, I was gonna bring that up.
Dude, you're Edwin. That's who you are.
Exactly. So I am proud that it is a portion of me that I have that rich culture to draw inspiration from and be, take all the good parts and attribute them to myself and be able to take just good
Good
things
parts
from
of
it.
both, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then there's the negative sides of things that we're not going to go into it because we're just celebrating, right? But there's those negative things that I can gladly step away from.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna mention as well that like that interesting dichotomy between when you're we're Mexican American and it kind of just speaks to like the Chicano music I used to listen to back in the day when I was wearing my big ass South Pole shirts and my big baggy pants and my Osiris and my chain. I thought it was super cool listening to Aquid and
To Aquid.
and all that and all those kind of artists and
Yeah.
one of the themes was just the fact that you're basically kind of both, but you're also neither, which is kind of
100%.
interesting. And I mean, I think Aquid had a song that they say "Ni soy de aquí, ni soy de allá." Just like
So-
I'm not from here, I'm not from there either.
Would you guys associate yourselves with the Chicano culture then? The ones who say we're not either, we're Chicano.
No, I don't think I would either. Chicano has a
I don't like how it sounds.
Chicano's an aesthetic as well, right? That I would never be able to pull off. It is a way of life. It's a way of life that I would never be part of either, right? And it's it's so unattainable to me, right? I don't live in East LA where all of that is like intrinsically
Prominent. Yeah.
yeah, it's there, right? Maybe if I was in East LA, that shit would be dope, right? Lowriders, all this good stuff, right? Like that's cool, but I'm not that either.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very proud to be both. For me personally, I proudly say I'm Mexican. I proudly say I'm American. And I don't let it define me, but I do know that I'm heavily influenced by both cultures, and I'm a mixture of both, and I'm proud of what I am and the way I think, and a lot of people might try to belittle that, but to me, I feel like it's a huge blessing to be able to speak two languages effortlessly, because that's just the life that I grew up in, and it's a real special thing. It's a real, like, we here in California, we might not be exotic because Mexican Americans and Mexicans are a dime a dozen here, but you go to a lot of different parts of the world, and
they think we're Middle Eastern.
And we're a little different. We speak, our English is Californian, and we also happen to speak Spanish, and so we're a strange thing to the rest of the world.
I mean, I think it's beautiful, and it's just you mentioned to be able to take from either Spanish or English or whatever other languages you speak is something that you can gain so much from being able to take from the arts of those two languages. I've said it before on this podcast. To be able to view entire world views through music, through books, through TV shows that aren't necessarily present in your everyday life of going to school here in the United States, where you speak English first and foremost, is invaluable.
Well said, Edwin. Guess that's it. Great episode, guys. Let's close this out, shall we?
Nos vamos.
Come on, vámonos, everybody. Let's go.
Hey, Dora. Let's give a shout out to Dora.
Shout out to Dora.
Can you say adios? All right.
That'll bring us to the end of the episode, folks. Thank you for being here with us. Hopefully, you guys found that at least somewhat relatable. I know a lot of our listeners are kind of in the same boat as us. So if you don't feel like doing it on social media, I mean, we see a lot of you in person as well. I'd love to engage in that conversation with you in person. If you ever feel like just talking about your experience as who you are.
Gracias por escucharnos. Y you can find us on our website tiltednotster.com or at our Instagram. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
Remember to join us to share your questions and voice your thoughts on what has you tilted, not stirred.
See ya.
Were you gonna try to translate?
The jingle's playing right now, right?
Yeah. Were you trying to translate the outro in Spanish?
Bueno.